Welcome back. Of Wisconsin's 72 counties, Dane County has received the most funding from the federal government from a program sharing undocumented inmate information with ICE. That's according to a new ACLU Wisconsin report examining the relationships across the state between sheriffs and federal immigration enforcement agents. While Dane County does not honor the 48-hour window ICE asked for from local jails for detainments, ICE still detained nearly as many undocumented immigrants in Dane County as they did in Milwaukee County from 2016 through 2020. Now, that's despite Milwaukee having a much larger immigrant population. I sat down with Sheriff Kalvin Barrett to discuss. Sheriff, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Something we really haven't discussed since your appointment last spring is your philosophy when it comes to working with undocumented people within the jail, within the community, and then also working with federal officials. So actually, if we could just start with you expanding on your philosophy of what a sheriff should be doing or shouldn't be doing in that position.
Well, number one, I believe the sheriff's top priority is public safety, and along with that should be community engagement. So that is really the philosophy that I have as the sheriff, and what we have at the sheriff's office is focusing on public safety for everyone who is visiting, working, and living in Dane County.
So if I could drill down a little more specifically, does a sheriff have a role in working with ICE in terms of sharing information about undocumented people that might cross the paths of the sheriff's office?
Yeah, so with ICE being a federal partner of ours, a certified partner, there is certain collaboration that does happen. It's really looking at specifically the proactiveness of the involvement of us as the sheriff's office with that, but they are a federal agency that is available, and we will provide assistance when dealing with safety reasons or when there is a significant threat to the community, to victims, to survivors, to witnesses, or to our overall community here in Dane County.
So what we're here to talk about today, ACLU Wisconsin released a report last week, and in that report it found that Dane County is of all the counties in the state received more than $600,000 between 2016 and 2020 for essentially exchanging information with ICE about undocumented people within the jail. Does that match the progressive priorities of the county, especially considering Milwaukee County, for instance, does not do this?
All right. Well, first, I think you would have to look at the specific jurisdiction of Milwaukee County to see if their local jail is under the sheriff's jurisdiction directly or if it's under the Department of Corrections. So really looking at that, I think, is the number one key. But speaking for us here at the Dane County Sheriff's Office, this is data that is on historical data of those who have been incarcerated here legally with the appropriate documentation from a signed judge.
What does that mean in terms of the information that you're sharing with ICE about people within the jail?
It is not active data for proactive enforcement purposes. We are provided reimbursement for housing individuals who are legally detained that is signed by a judge. That's what it provides us with, reimbursement by providing that data. That reimbursement is necessary and important because if we did not receive that reimbursement for housing those individuals, that burden would then fall on the taxpayers of Dane County.
But some sheriff's offices around the country have chosen to forgo this because in order to get this funding, this SCAP funding, you have to tell ICE you have the status of undocumented people within the jail. And when that happens, for instance, in Dane County, there were 451 detainers then issued for people within the jail during this time period that we're talking about. So some sheriff's offices have chosen to forego this money because it does involve sharing information that wouldn't otherwise come onto the radar of ICE.
Well, the data that we have and we keep here in the sheriff's office is shared to numerous other outlets, not just on the federal side of things. And I think it's important to ensure that we do have the data that's here, it's collected, and that it is shared in an appropriate manner.
So I guess essentially you don't see any reason to change this policy going forward in terms of information sharing with ICE?
Well, we don't share specifically the information with ICE. We partner with a consultant that takes the information and data, and then they share it with their federal partner. So it's not a direct contractual formal agreement with ICE in regards to the data that we're sharing.
Dane County has also had one of 5 in the state that has a policy to not honor ICE detainees when ICE issues a detainer in terms of allowing that 48-hour period to elapse to give them more time to come to pick up the person. Is that a policy that you also agree with? How does that mesh with also then taking money for informing feds about this?
Yeah, so first, when you're looking at informing or providing the data isn't active and relevant at this time. By the time the data gets processed by the consultant and shared, it is 6 months to a year behind. So it's not used for, like I mentioned earlier, the proactive enforcement of going after individuals. That's an important factor in regards to the data that's not being shared. It's historical data, what has been, not what currently is, which can be used in an inappropriate manner to do proactive enforcement, depending on the different philosophies of those who believe here in Dane County. So with the process, we do not keep individuals here without the appropriate signed paperwork from a judge longer than what's legally allowed.
So essentially what you're saying, this is historic in that these are people who have been in the jail, but potentially once ICE gets this information, they are not still in the jail?
It's a possibility. Again, it's anywhere from 6 months to a year. By the time the data is processed, it's looked at, it's turned in, it's put into a format where it can easily be read and shared.
Big picture, I mean, what's your message to people within Dane County who are undocumented and with policies like this might feel fear or reasons to not come to police officers, to sheriff's deputies in terms of whether they're a victim of a crime, whether they have concerns in the community, because again, they know that at that point, their status is going to be shared at some point with the federal government.
Well, I think there needs to be, decipher from what you just said. You made a reference to someone reporting a crime and someone actually committing a crime and being incarcerated in the Dane County Jail. I believe those are two separate conversations and two separate discussions. Our top priority is public safety and keeping people safe. Number two, we want to make sure that everyone has equal protection under the law and has the ability to have, the pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is our ultimate goal. We have done also additional things and policies that we're in the process of implementing that ensure those who are coming to our community that if they are victims of a crime or if they're reporting a crime or survivors of a crime, they are protected. We are in the process of implementing a U visa policy and a T visa policy. The U visa policy is specifically for those who are undocumented but are protected. Their immigration status is protected if they're actively helping law enforcement in regards to an investigation. The T visa is very similar, but it's for those of survivors, victims, and family members and witnesses of human trafficking. So we have specific policies that are in place to ensure that we're protecting those individuals so that when anyone comes to Dane County to live, work, or to visit, they feel safe in reporting anything to our Dane County Sheriff's Office or our partners here in Dane County.
Sheriff, I really appreciate you sitting down and talking.
Thank you.